Thank you for calling the Business Services Customer Service Division. Our office is currently closed. Our phone line is active Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. But if possible,
we're in. Oh my gosh, we're in Utah, so they're 2 hours ahead, so they're closed. I'm sure you guys are here for the title. I wish I was clickbaiting you right now. I don't know how I did this. Actually, I do know how I did this. I don't know why I did not ask someone before I did this. I literally do not have a business. I lost my business. So right now, I am literally operating like a sole proprietor. I have no business benefits right now. You know, I wish I was able to tell you guys I got scammed. I can't begin to tell you how bad this is. I don't even know half of it. I have to talk to an attorney. I have to talk to my CPA. There's so much I have to do. Now, I was going to show you guys something real quickly because I had something come in the mail. I was going to do a video on this separately, but I don't think I have time. So I'm going to show it to you guys real quickly. I have been looking for a pressure washer for the better part of a year now. This is one that I had no clue about. One of my friends told me about it. You'll meet them really soon here. But this is one that hangs on the wall. I didn't want one on the ground because it always gets tangled up with the other hose. This hangs on the wall, has a 100-foot hose already installed, as you can see here. I was planning on doing a separate video for this because it's such a nice thing, but I don't have time. So as I do videos, you're gonna just see this pop up. I do have an Amazon affiliate, so if you do purchase this, I do get a small commission. Please do, because it's gonna help me out in this issue I have right now. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, most of you guys know that I started my YouTube channel at the beginning of 2019. I did not originally expect it to be anything. The goal for the channel was to do about 20 to 30 videos, and all I wanted to do was talk about payload. The year prior, I had bought a truck and an RV, and all people talked about was towing capacity. They never talked about payload. Now, as I was looking for accessories for my RV, Big Truck, Big RVs and Keep Your Daydream were on my algorithm at that time. And one of the videos I remember, I think it was Keep Your Daydream, they had talked about payload. And I would never forget that video because it had never come up. Because it had never come up before in any of my conversations. So when I looked at the payload of my truck, I took it to a CAT scale like he did. And I was shocked to see that I was over my payload. And that's why I started this channel, because I wanted to make it very much known that this is something you have to look for on your truck. That is why every video I do on this channel is about payload, when I do truck reviews, things like that. So with that being said, my channel grew pretty quickly, and I can probably give that to the fact that I ordered a 2019 Ram at that time, and that truck was so popular back then that everyone wanted a Ram. So I just was at the right place at the right time, praise be to God, obviously, and my channel just blew up. I got to 1,000 subscribers in 7 months, and then the year after, in 2020, my channel was just kicking. It was kicking tail. And then I decided to form my LLC in 2020. Now, here's where you have to start listening, because this is where I think that if you're thinking about starting a business, or if you own a business, this is where you have to get the meat and potatoes, okay? So I formed my LLC in Maryland. The reason why I did that is because that's where we lived at the time. We lived there. We were planning to stay there for long term. And so I did the dumbest thing in the world, and I formed my business in, yes, Maryland. Now you might be wondering, why is that a big deal? I mean, Maryland's a pretty big state, has a lot of people. Yeah, you know what else Maryland does? If you're a YouTuber and you're about to get monetized and you live in Maryland, do not form your business in Maryland. Here's why. Maryland treats YouTube income as royalty income. And if you don't know, royalty income is taxed at the highest tax bracket, which is, I think, 47%, I believe it was, when I got my tax bill. I got murdered in Maryland. So I was already looking to get the heck out of there. But nevertheless, I decided that, you know, I was there. I was going to deal with it. Now, unfortunately, I lost my job in 2022. So now my business is 2 years old. At the time, I only had a credit card, and that was pretty much it. No one else would give me financing on anything. And I didn't buy anything those couple years that I was in. I was just writing off the mileage on my truck, my car. I was writing off just a few other things here and there, but I was just getting hosed every year in taxes because I just didn't know how to run a business. Now, when I lost my job, now I had to basically learn how to run my business. See, at the time, I was making so much money between the two that I didn't care that I was paying taxes. It didn't bother me. But when I only had one income, it bothered me. So we decided we were going to go traveling. Our kids were homeschooled at the time, and we were going to move out of Maryland anyways. We decided that was the only thing keeping me there, which was my job. No longer had it. So we went traveling. Our kids were homeschooled. It was easy. So we had planned to end up in Tennessee, but somehow, some way, God decided we were supposed to be here in Utah. Now, on our way out of Idaho through Wyoming to Utah, we're going to Zion. If you don't know, in the Bible, Zion is the highest place. So funny how we ended up here. So we got here, we got a flat tire coming through Utah, and the tires, this is still around the pandemic, so things were on back order. So the tires I needed for my RV that I wanted were on back order for 2 weeks. So we had to stay here for 2 weeks. And in doing so, my wife and I fell in love with Utah. And we decided to stay here. So at that time, this is basically going into 2023 now. My business, I needed to grow my business. I needed to get some write-offs. I needed to lower my tax exposure. So I bought a Wagoneer, had a GVWR over 6,000 pounds. I think it's like 7,700 pounds, something like that. So therefore, I got Zion's Bank to get me approved. Now, you have to listen to this. Before they would lend me the money, though, I had to create a foreign entity here, okay? Now, this is very important. What I'm about to tell you is the meat and potatoes of what's happening to me right now. So I formed that foreign entity here, which is basically I don't know the term for it, but it's basically like an extension from Maryland to here. So if you have a business and you need to do business in another state, you can open up a foreign entity. So in other words, if you want to buy a car with a bank that's only in a certain state or a credit union that's in a certain state and you have an address there, you literally can create a foreign entity. You don't even need a registered agent either. So that's something you don't need. You need that for a domestic entity. Keep that in mind. So we've lived in Utah now for 2 years. This is 2025. I decide, why in the heck am I still paying annual fees to that expensive state? Let me tell you guys something. Let me. I gotta do the math because I don't know the math. So just to give you perspective here. And I think that the annual fee is $300. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't pay it for this year for Maryland. But Maryland's annual fee is 16 times higher than here in Utah. And when you see that, you can't unsee it. So I'm like, why am I still doing business in Maryland when I'm not even making money there? Why am I paying all this money to this stupid state I don't really like anyways? I do like Maryland. I'm just angry with Maryland right now. So if you're offended by what I'm saying, don't be. I'm just angry with Maryland. So I decided, I was talking to one of my friends. He says, hey man, you can just domesticate your business in Utah. So I'm like, you can? I didn't know I could do that. So I'm like, I go online and here's what I did wrong. Number one, I didn't seek legal advice. That's the first issue. I didn't seek legal advice. But number two, I was being reckless. That's the other thing. I was being reckless, guys. So here's what I did. I went online and I basically searched it incorrectly. I said, can I domesticate my business in Utah? Basically, if I own a business in Utah, can I domesticate it in another state? That's basically what I did wrong. So Utah allows you to domesticate. So I was like, I'm Groden. So I decided I'm going to dissolve my business in Maryland. And most of you guys who are seasoned, you probably know exactly what's about to happen right now. You know exactly that. You can turn off the video if you want. You know what I did. So my business is dissolved. I never set up my domestic entity here in Utah. I'm still doing business as a foreign entity in the state. I decided to refinance my wife's car. If you're wondering how I'm able to afford a Z06, so here's what I did. When I bought my wife's car last year, I never intended to keep it financed with that bank anyways, because the dealership, I know the rate was higher, but they gave me a good deal all around, so I decided to keep it so they can make a little bit of money on the finance reserve, and that was cool. I don't mind that because they really gave me a good deal on her car. And so what I did was I did a 48-month term, which I was getting killed on her payments each month because I was trying to pay it down. And therefore, what I did was I refinanced it this year, and I paid off my truck this year so I can afford the Z06. That's how I'm able to get that car. Not that I'm making way more money. It's just I just lowered my exposure basically, and I paid off my black trailer too. My black trailer was paid off this year, so literally all that went away. Well, two things went away. One thing went way down, and so the Z06 is only costing me. Well, I don't know if I can keep the Z06 now because I don't have a business. But I'm just gonna cry this now, but it's okay. Yeah. What was I talking about? Nevertheless, so I refinanced my wife's car, and here's how I found out about the domestication for Utah. They called me at Zion's Bank, Sean. He says, hey, you need to set up a domestic entity because your business is no longer showing active in Maryland. I said, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. So went on Utah's website. I love Utah, by the way. Utah is easy. Utah is the greatest state in the world. I'm telling you guys, if you're thinking about starting a business and you have no plans of visiting here, start your business here and then make a foreign entity of the state that you plan on doing business in. The annual fees are low. You don't need to put down a registered agent. You can just put down yourself. It's the best state in the world to start a business in. But yes, unfortunately, here's where it gets bad. This is where it gets horrible. I talked to someone at Utah, and because they basically sent me back, hey, this business name is already active in the state. So I'm like, who the heck has my business name? Because I know no one has my initials with this name. And so I call someone, they says, well, you need to dissolve that business in order to create a domestic entity. But the lady on the phone had already known that. She says, I do know though, that Maryland is one of the few states that don't allow you to domesticate. She says, don't ask me how I know that. I just know this because I ran into this not long ago. And my heart sank in my stomach. I was like, well, I just dissolved my business. And she was like, no big deal. Just reinstate it. She said, that's what you can do here in Utah too. I was like, fine. I guess I'll be paying $400 for this stupid annual fee and have a registered agent. So this all happened last week. Today I called Maryland to get my business reinstated because I couldn't do it online. I talked to 4 or 5 people. And let me just be completely honest with you guys. I hate Maryland. I always hated Maryland, and I now know why I really hate Maryland. Maryland is the worst state to do anything in. I mean, the MVA, everything, it sucks. Here in Utah, it's just better. It really is. The people, talking to people on the phone. I talked to 4 people. And they all said the same thing. And now, granted, it's not their fault. But when I went to call in to reinstate my business, if you dissolve your business in Maryland, you can't reinstate it. So the business is gone. So here's what I have to do. I have to call the IRS and pray that I can keep my EIN with my now dissolved business that I've built great business credit with. I mean, getting my Z06 approved, simple. It took seconds. That's rare on a business loan. I mean, it got approved pretty quick, is what I'm trying to say. But I have to see if I can use that EIN and form another LLC in Maryland and see if they'll still allow that to be this, under the same EIN number. That way I can keep my business credit. Now, I do have Duns and Bradstreet too, but I'll be honest with you, I've done nothing with it. So I'm pretty sure it's not showing anything active. I just have a DUNS number, that's it. But I don't know if I can do it. I have to call the IRS tomorrow because the people in Maryland didn't know. And that's not their job to know, so I'm not going to put that on them. But yeah, this is a mess. I don't know where to begin. And if they can't use my EIN with a new business, well, it's going to be the same business name, but it's going to be established in a different year. I don't know what I'm going to do because at this point, I can't put all the stuff in my personal name. I'm not doing that because, yeah, the reason why I do what I do is to prevent myself from having to pay a ton of taxes. So I am absolutely screwed right now. I don't even know if I can keep this car, and I don't know if Jerry Saunders is going to be willing to take the car back. I mean, granted, the good news is I haven't driven it. I've only driven it from there to here, and that's it. And so they got it all approved in my old business name. So tomorrow I need some prayer from you guys. You got to pray for me here. I need to make sure that I can use my EIN if I go ahead and form the same business name with myself as the operating manager. If they do that, then we're even Stevens. If not, I'm screwed.